So today we're going to take a look at questions from the business domain. We took a look at questions previously from the other two. Here's the final one. It's a scaled down version, if you will, of what you could find on the exam in terms of number. So as usual, we'll take a look at the first question. I'll give you about a minute to answer. If you need more time, hit the pause button, make sure you get an answer, and then find out what the real answer is and close gaps in your knowledge. You are developing a new Agile mindset for your consulting team. Which of the following best espouses an Agile mindset? Is it formalizing an entire contracting relationship in a single document, reward and recognition for outstanding team members, a shared risk-reward relationship where all sides win? Consultant bears all the risk so that your procurement team wins. What do you think? I'll give you a minute. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the option of most relevance to Agile is. We'll start from the bottom up. D, consultant bears all the risk so that your procurement team wins. That sounds lopsided and a bit selfish. Just wanting your team, your procurement team to win, put all the risk on the consultant. That is not an Agile mindset. We should be thinking about collaboration over contract negotiation. C, a shared risk-reward relationship where all sides win. Well, what could go wrong if every side wins? Let's hold on to that thought. B, reward and recognition for, note the word, outstanding team members. In the world of Agile, we do not segregate outstanding team members from what may be otherwise not outstanding. We take a look at team output as opposed to taking a look at individual output. So B, reward and recognition for outstanding team members. While it sounds good, this is not in the spirit of Agile. The spirit of Agile rewards the team, not individuals. So the world of traditional and the world of Agile, they work very differently. A, formalizing an entire contracting relationship in a single document. The size of the document is not important. It's what is in the document that would make it Agile or not. So there's not enough in this for us to go with A. And that leaves you with C, a shared risk-reward relationship where all sides win. So taking a look at this could apply to a team, it could apply to a consultant, anything. Questions such as this that seem to combine ideas from different aspects of the business can be expected. You're not always going to get a question where all the options are something that pertains to a team. You could get some options that are consultant related, some that are team related, but the bottom line is which of these espouses an Agile mindset? Okay, so answer to that, A. All right, let's move on to our next question. When addressing an individual challenge area or implementing a new hybrid or Agile approach, a common practice is to treat the change process as an Agile project with its own backlog of changes that could be introduced and prioritized by the team. Which of the following is consistent with Agile manifesto principles and Scrum practices? I'm going to give you a minute and 12 seconds. This one is a bit of a long one. A little bit more time left. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right. So when addressing an individual challenge area or implementing a new hybrid or agile approach, a common practice is to treat the change process as an agile project with its own backlog of changes that could be introduced and prioritized by the team. Which of the following is consistent with Agile manifesto principles and Scrum practices? Again, let's start from the bottom. At project end, when the product goal is reached, review external business environment. So watch this. At project end, review external business environment for impacts on the project scope and make adjustments for the program. What good is that when the program or the project is already done, when the product goal is reached? You should actually do this before the goal is reached. So we're going to cancel D because it doesn't make sense. C, work with stakeholders to reduce scope creep and, watch this, limit options for scope changes or backlog changes. That is not in the spirit of Agile. It then says the less change there is, the faster the product will be completed. So not in the spirit of Agile. In the world of Agile, we embrace and welcome change. The only thing we do not do is within the sprint, encourage copious tons of change. We don't do that. Once our sprint is locked in the world of Scrum, we keep it as pure as possible. So that is a different kind of question, but it still comes into play. You need to have a keen eye for detail. When it talks about scope creep, limiting options for scope backlog changes, we see things differently in this world. While we don't want people to say they want a Tesla when they ask for a Harley in the first place, we at the same time do not limit options for backlog changes in general. That is the whole idea behind Agile. Change needs to happen, change the backlog. All right. So when we say backlog, we mean product backlog, not the sprint backlog. The sprint backlog, we do not want to change as much as we can. The product backlog, people can update that. The question is, will it be done? And that's the product owner's call. Let's go to B. Assess and prioritize the impact on the product backlog based on external environment changes. Engage all relevant stakeholders in technical decisions. That doesn't sound bad. Let's take a look at A. Focus on the immediate environment. Only each sprint. Okay. Focus on the immediate environment only each sprint and not on the external business environment, and exclude the product owner from technical decisions. Well, of course, that will be a recipe for failure. The product owner does need to be in those discussions, and you do not relegate your discoveries and your focus on just the immediate environment. You got to take a look at the big picture, business environment. So this is really based on the PMP exam content outline, all right? Most sensible option is B. Assess and prioritize the impact on the product backlog based on external environment changes. Engage all relevant stakeholders in technical decisions. Okay. That's that. Let's go to our next one. You're working with a business unit to complete a benefits management plan. Which of the following would you expect to be done as part of the responsibilities of the benefits owner? Select all that apply. I'll let you read it. All right, if you need more time, hit the pause button. 3, 2, and 1. So go into option D, using the process of elimination. It reads, appraise stakeholders of value gain progress. Remember, it says select all that apply. So we're going to put a tick. That applies. Appraise stakeholders of value gain progress. How do we know this? Well, a lot of this stuff is in the PMBOK guide in section 1262, page 33. But in addition to that, the PMP exam content outline contains these specific tasks. Let's take a look at C. Verify a measurement system is in place to track schedule progress. This is talking about schedule. We know that the benefits owner's job is not to put a measurement system in place for schedule. That sounds more like what the PM would do. So we are not going to choose that. Let's go to B. Document agreement on ownership for ongoing benefit realization. In other words, who's going to own it? That's definitely something we do there. And lastly, it says, investigate that benefits are identified. It's one of the main things the benefit owner does. So the answer is A, B, and D. And you do recall on your exam, you very well could get one of those, select all that applies, right? They could very well ask you to choose more than one. So you get ready for questions like that. All right, let's move on to our next one. As a project manager, you're expected to confirm project compliance requirements, for example, security, health and safety, regulatory compliance, and classify compliance categories while determining potential threats to compliance. Which of the following risk identification models exist to help you achieve this? Go ahead. All right, 3, 2, and 1. So which of the following risk identification models exists to help you achieve this? In other words, which of these is a real model? Well, you've got 4 lines and you've got an answer buried. For this one, we're going to start off with A. We're going to use the process of elimination to cancel anything that is bogus, doesn't exist. So A, VUCA, ESTA, and teacup. So if you take a look, like I said, on page 416 of the PMBOK guide, you can see that VUCA does exist. It's volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. ESTA does not exist. Teacup does exist. Teacup stands for technical, environmental, commercial, operational, and political. The second one, MOLA, does not exist. PESTLE does exist. PESTLE is political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. So based on that, we know ESTA doesn't exist, MOLA doesn't exist, MOTA doesn't exist. PESTLE and teacup do, and so does VUCA. And that leaves us with option D. So you're going to know which models are real and which ones are fake, just in case you get questions on any of that. Let's take a look at the next one. The product owner and the team discussed the user stories planned for a particular project. The team pointed out that none of the stories had acceptance criteria defined, and that these were needed to define the acceptance tests for each story and deliverable. However, they could not agree on when exactly these needed to be identified or defined, rather. Ideally, when should the acceptance tests be defined? I'll give you a minute. All right, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, let's start from the top and we'll go down. So it reads, they could not agree on exactly when these needed to be defined. Ideally, when should the acceptance test be defined? So you got to remember, when you're taking a look at user stories, the front of the card, it's typically the story, the role, goal, benefit. You got to remember to flip it over, right? Because when you flip the card over at the back, that's where you typically would put the acceptance criteria, doing things with physical note cards and so on, like the good old days. So A says before release planning during visioning. That is way early. You don't even have stories then, most of the time. So let's get rid of that. Or you might have an epic or two, but definitely not the whole laundry list of stories, right? So very unlikely you'd be looking for criteria at this point. Now, if it is the multiple events that happen, because release plan is not just a one-time thing, if it so happens that it's in the future, it's still not the best place to do that. But this says before release planning. If you think about the very first round of release planning, you wouldn't be doing that in there. So that's not ideal. B, during the iteration, at any time before development is complete. So think about it, assembling acceptance criteria in the middle of the sprint, while development is going on, before it's complete. No, that is not correct. Not B. Let's take a look at C. During the review or retrospective with customer input. No, the customer is not there in a review meeting for the purpose of defining criteria. It would not happen in a demo, that's for sure. Could you get news stories in a demo? You could, but as far as the acceptance criteria, the acceptance tests, that would have to be done outside of the review. The best answer is D. It's in refinement before development. And when you know the 353 and you know what happens in each event, it makes sense as to why you would do this in backlog refinement, right? So it's in refinement before development. And that is the overarching best answer. And that, my friends, concludes our review of people, process, and business. Today, we took a look at business. This is how we think in the project management masterclass. It's all getting you ready for the PMP exam. So going down to projectmanagementmasterclass.com, take a look. Very well could be the course that helps you get this down pat. Thank you. You take care. Don't forget, hit like, subscribe, share with your friends. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.